Hey everybody, this is Socrates. I want to talk to you about scroll glitch today. There's been a lot of discussion about this trick over the past couple months in forums and the discords and people's streams. There's been some videos put up talking about how the trick works, how like it conceptually functions in a nutshell. But one thing that hasn't really been talked about extensively are some of the nitty gritty tips and techniques to actually get consistent at it. And I feel like it's a bit of a lot of people view it as kind of like a brick wall trying to learn the trick and feel it's not that approachable. So I wanted to talk a bit today about how to approach learning it, how to practice it, and how to implement it into your runs. I want to focus on specifically the movement tech needed. There's some just frame whips that can be used to make it more consistent. How to actually get the 2 frame turnaround or the 2 pixel turnaround in certain spots, and I also want to provide you guys some screenshots for pixels that you actually want to do it on, so you can better accurately approach learning this and become more consistent in your run. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're also going to talk about the stages as a whole and how they change when doing the trick, because you're going to approach 13.2 a little bit differently. You're going to approach stage 15 a little bit differently because of how the scroll glitch makes it interact. And you also have to keep in mind things like heart routing, because your heart count's going to be a little bit lower. So we're going to talk about a lot of that, the stage as a whole, and also some kind of nitty gritty specifics to help you learn how to implement this into your run. So stick around and we will get into that. Here we go. All right, one of the first things I want to talk to you guys about is movement and what we're going to be using to perform this trick. I've been able to input capture here just so you can kind of see what I'm doing. It requires very specific movement to execute this precisely. Two main things I want to talk about are just frame whips that are inputted by having the whip and a movement on the same frame. You see like Simon is kind of scooting along backwards. I'm hitting back and whip at the same frame, and that will generate 1 pixel of movement. It's not going to be it's not what we want to use to execute this trick, but it's a good backup in case you get like a just frame. You can correct with another just frame to try to get the 2 pixels of movement. Ideally, what we want is this kind of motion, where you see Simon shifting direction, but not moving very far, like that. There we go. That's performed by inputting a movement 1 frame before the whip. That will get you. That is your 2 pixel movement. That's what we want to do to actually execute this trick. It's very tight. And one thing you want to distinct this from, like, you want to be able to like visually distinguish this between getting multiple frames, like a 3 pixel movement, which is easy to do. Which you'll learn to distinguish that once you like start practicing it and see like what's working and what's not. But this movement right here is key. That's what we want to have happen. That's what's going to be the easiest way to get these scroll glitch tricks to happen. Alternatively, what can be used is a pause trick, which is done by pausing the game, holding down in a direction, as you can see on the input display there, unpausing while still holding, and then releasing. You see that it moves Simon 1 pixel in the direction held, which can be used to course correct in certain situations. I've experienced in doing this that doing this for the actual pixels of the scroll glitch can mess up the scroll glitch itself. So use this with a little bit of risk. It is accurate, however, it can make the trick not work. I found it's best to use this when like you're trying to set up for the initial pixel for the back jump. Like if you're 1 pixel off, you can do this and land up and end up on the right pixel, and you can do your back jump. So that about covers the movement that we're going to be using for this trick. So again, just frame whips for correction, the 1 frame stagger to get the 2 pixel movement. Remember, one pixel, 1 frame or one frame in between the direction and the whip is going to be key. It's going to take a little practice to get consistent, but that's what you want. Right there. All right, let's talk about some of these pixels. I want to grab some screenshots for you all to kind of best illustrate where you want to be setting this up from. First pixel we have here, this is our starting pixel for 13. This is where you want to start your back jump from so that you can accurately get in place to start doing your scroll glitch setup. From here, like you can kind of see, you can kind of take what visual cue you want to from this, but what I use as a helpful is the little rivet in the crossbar right by Simon's front foot. You want to see that there's basically like that little bit of space next to Simon's foot. I can tell you one thing that that often confuses me. Like one thing that initially confused me was giving it that right amount of space. Here, you can see in like the emulator here. So what I would typically, I used to line up right here, where you can see the rivet is like actually in Simon's foot sprite. That's too far forward. You want this one right here, where there's a little bit of space between the tip of Simon's foot and this little, I'll use my cursor, that little rivet right there. That's the big indicator where you want to start your back jump from. And if you start this screen and you have a little trouble getting in space, you can use like your just frame whips to kind of adjust Simon's position a little bit. You can use your pause tricks if you want. Whatever you got to do to kind of get in the right position there. And that's where you can do your back jump. While you're doing the back jump, you want to hold down and right. Hold down and right while you are jumping so that you end up in the right pixel for the next spot. This is the beginning pixel of the 13 scroll glitch. So as you can see, he's basically right in front of that kind of it looks like a little, like a almost like a kind of a boulder, like a little rock in the background there. There shouldn't be much of a visual indicator, because if you got the pixel for the back jump correct, you should land on this correctly. Do the back jump, hold down right as you land and come back up. You should be on this pixel. But just in case, I like to use that little sliver of black background, but between Simon's back foot and the that little ball in the background as my visual indicator. From here is where you start your first 2-frame input. Your back and whip staggered to get the 2 pixel movement backwards. And then you're going to move forward to the next pixel, which is going to be right here. These pixels were TASed out, so I got exact screenshots where you need to be. These screenshots, like these pixels, should work if you do the correct inputs on these locations. So you kind of take that as you will. Notice you're kind of be using this little that little like stone ball in the background as my cue as well. There's a line of pixels right by Simon's foot that are a little darker shaded. I use that as my visual indicator to know that I got on the right pixel, because the front foot is a little hard to tell with that little other piece of rubble that's there. So I still stick with like that kind of stone ball as my visual cue. But use it as a still, determine what visual cues you need from it. But this is the correct pixel for the next frame of movement, which after you do your next 2-frame input or your 2-pixel movement, you are going to then advance to the last pixel of this setup right here. My visual indicator for this one is Simon's face. The flat of Simon's face is flush up against that next tile block in the background. And that's, for me, that's the best indicator or the best indication that I'm on the right pixel. You should then do your last 2-pixel movement and then move forward. If you do all of those things, you should have a successful 13 scroll glitch. So take these pixel screenshots, derive what visual indicators you like. You can use like the front foot, for example, like the way his heel is touching that block, or the way his hand is positioned right on that tile. Either way, whatever works best for you. But these are the true pixels that you should line up on. And we should, as an end result, hopefully, that was the 3-frame movement there. I was a little far on the last one, but it still worked. That's another thing to note about these setups. The pixels that I showed are the exact true setups for how the scroll glitch should work. If you line up on those pixels, do 2 frames or pixel. I interchange frames and pixels because Simon moves at a rate of 1 frame per pixel, so it's kind of the same measurement. So I'll use those terms interchangeably. But if you do 2 pixels of movement on those specific frames that I pointed out, you should get a successful scroll glitch. There is a little bit of leniency though, however, especially in the last part of the setup, the third turnaround, I've noticed. There's a bit of leniency to where kind of the side pixels, like the ones on either side, has a chance to work, but doesn't always. And there's some other like kind of weird pixels I think may or may not have something to do with timing. I'm not 100% sure, honestly, but there's a chance that it may work. Basically, my rule of thumb is if you do the exact movements on the exact pixels, it will always work. Big asterisk, but it will work. If you have to adjust in any way, if you're a pixel off, if you have to use pause buffer strats, you have to use the just frame adjustments, it might work. That's kind of the rule of thumb that I've been using to approach this. But if you're exact, it will work. If you have to adjust, it might work. So kind of take that with a grain of salt, play around with it. But these should be the specific setups for 13. Now let's go into 14. All right, for the stage 14, this one's a little bit simpler. This only takes 2 turnarounds as opposed to the 3 turnarounds of stage 13. It's a bit easier, probably one of the better ones to implement as like a single-use scroll glitch. If you want to learn one, probably learn this one. Let's talk about how we want to get into it and how we want to approach this setup. So initially, typically jump a route right here, do a delayed throw to get rid of that Axe Knight, and we want to set up right here for our first pixel. Get you a zoom in on this. Oh, that's my webcam. Zoom in on this. There's our first pixel. I use sort of Simon's front boot, like the flat of his shin. You want it to be lined up flush with the black border of that first stair. That's where you want to start your back jump from. That's going to get you in position for the whole setup. And we'll demonstrate with the back jump. And you want to end up right here. Again, I'll get you a still. This is where we're starting from with our setup. This is where the 2 pixel movement begins. You do your first 2 pixel staggered 1 frame of one of direction and whip, get your 2 pixel turnaround, and then we want to move on to our next pixel, which is right there. Sorry, I meant to go over like visual cues. Very easy visual cue, that thin like line of the right of the column, that thin like solid gray line should be lined right up with the back of Simon's boot. That's a very simple visual indicator that you can pull from that. It's very easy to know that you're on this pixel. Again, just like the 13 setup, if you line up correctly on the back jump pixel, if you line up correctly with your setup pixel and do the back jump and hold down and right, you should end up on this pixel. There should be no problem here, but this is just a good visual check to make sure that you're in the right place. Next pixel, after doing the inputs, moving forward, you want to end here. This is a little trickier to derive a visual indicator from, but I kind of go with like the shape of that little kind of arch indentation of the background right beneath the sarcophagus, like right by Simon's back foot, that little arch kind of little part of the, like, I guess it was like a dais, maybe that's what it would be called. The shape of it is what I kind of use that on. You can kind of use like the little yellow yellow shaded pixels right by his foot, and how it's like 3 pixels with 4 pixels underneath. Maybe you can use that as an indicator. But just like an idea of that shape. I've just from doing this, I've kind of gotten a mental image of that in my mind, and when I see it, I know I have it, and I do the movement. I know I have the scroll glitch. So that might take a little trial and error. Maybe try some things that could work for you as a visual indicator. But whatever works for you, whatever is the best indicator for yourself. Figure it out and determine from there. Again, this is the easier of the scroll glitches, merely because it's only 2 of them, and the second one, and just like in the 13 scroll glitch, where the last turnaround is a bit more lenient, the second one is a bit more lenient here. So you have a bit more leniency here. It's not terribly difficult to get this one. See that? Okay, so there's the 1 pixels. That's probably what's not going to work, so I just went ahead and reset. Sometimes it will work. A lot of times it didn't. That was actually 1 frame early, and it still worked. See, there's a little bit of leniency there in that second pixel. I'll see if I can do it again, try to get it exact. Okay, so there's 1 pixel. 2 just frame movements still worked there. See, a little bit of leniency in that last little bit there. Again, 1 pixel early, still worked. Quite a bit of leniency in that last pixel. So even SPD Wolf, I think, doesn't even do the back whip. He just kind of does a quick turnaround and leaves because of that leniency, which is a bit faster, but it's not quite as exact, and I have a little trouble with setting that up. So that time I didn't actually even get the turnaround after the back jump. I just stayed put, which you don't have to actually be facing the other direction to do the turnaround. You can still do the 1 frame stagger of movement and still actually get the correct movement needed for the scroll glitch. So this one is a bit more easier to approach. I hope those pixels are work for you to set up your own visual cues, or use the ones I provided. Either way, hopefully you can get that working for you. I want to talk a little bit about practice techniques and ways you can kind of clear the room to better practice this for consistency's sake. One of the biggest obstacles in practicing these tricks, like initially learning them, is dealing with all of the enemies and the obstacles in the room. So just kind of show you that there's some easy ways to kind of clear the room for like setup. Like this, for your initial setup here, besides those fleamen, nothing else is going to spawn until you reach the, past a certain point. So you can always practice this just kind of whenever you want. But as soon as you pass this threshold, that guy's going to spawn. If you want, you can always just kind of go up here and kill the guy, because he's not going to respawn once he's dead. You're not going to scroll past his respawn point, but you are going to have to deal with these guys, which is fine. So doing that will kind of free you up a little bit to practice this one, so you don't have to worry about that particular skeleton just raining bones down on you. That's one way you can kind of practice this a little bit. You are going to respawn this skeleton though, however, so do with that as you will. Save state there. So yeah, jump from there, delayed holy water to take care of that guy. What I do is I bring him to about right here, whip him, and just scroll him way over here. Don't go all the way, go to about right there, and he'll be gone. Now you have just a free slate to practice this trick without the fear of the red skeleton getting in your way. If you do scroll that far, however, you are going to respawn him, so just be careful. But you can keep doing that pretty much infinitely, and you can get multiple red skeletons on here, and it just becomes kind of a nightmare. So keep that in mind as you practice. If you just want kind of a clean space to practice this in, you can do with that. So whatever helps. So there you go. All right, so you got the scroll glitch. Great job. So now let's talk about what do you do with the rest of the stage after you get these certain scroll glitches, and how do you finish out your routing? Because by doing the 13 scroll glitch, you're skipping a boost. So you maybe don't need to take the meat to have a safe rest of level 5. You've if you've done this 14 scroll glitch, as you go into 15, the terrain is a little bit messed up. What does that mean for the room? You're also going to be skipping some big hearts that you would normally take. So how does that affect your heart routing? So let's get into that, talk a little bit, and see how that affects the rest of the stage. So I made just a save state here. We'll just kind of talk through it. So you're going to end up here. Just do a quick 2 jumps there to get back on the stage. This section is relatively unchanged, but you are going to go through some hearts, so you want to try to pick up some of these hearts where you normally wouldn't otherwise. So this is going to be a little bit risky, so if you don't get that jump right, you can actually get hit by that Fleeman and take some extra damage, which could be really bad, but you also want that heart. You want those hearts, so it's a bit of a risk, so it may be something worth taking if you can plan out that jump a little bit easier. So these hearts are going to be crucial. You're going to want a lot of hearts, but depending on if you're going short whip or long whip, you can decide how many hearts you want to be taking into it. I also want to mention there is a frame rule you can get here. It's pretty difficult. You basically need two just frame back jumps right there. That might get it. So there is like a frame rule you can get here. We'll see if this got it. But if you do 2 just frame back jumps right as soon as you can get a frame rule save right here. There it is. So there's a frame rule save you can get there if you're concerned about those things. It is possible. Then going into 14, typical room setup. Big thing about heart management is you are not going to get the big heart that you usually get after doing this, after these red skeletons here. So getting hearts where you can is important to make sure you have enough hearts to kill death. I think I got it. Hey, there we go, first try. All right, so you can always get this one if you're one shy. You can try to get a heart out of that. All right, so big thing here. I'm actually gonna make a save state. This big block is in your way now. So depending on how you navigate this room, it's going to change how the room plays. This bone tower here is going to activate the same always because it activates as soon as the room activates. However, what this is going to change is the pattern that the bone tower gives you on the stairs. Typically, you don't really have, like when you're doing it the old method, even with like the holy water glitch to get through the bone tower, you still approach this room the same way. You didn't lose frames, so the fireball pattern is always going to be predictable. In this case, depending on how well you jump over this block, you could lose frames and impact the fireball pattern that you're going to get, and that can actually hurt you. So depending on how slow or fast you are, you could get a different pattern here. This is going to be different. That's also this skeleton. These are things you got to kind of watch out for. This room is the rest is just the same, but this room in particular, depending on how well you navigate that block right there, will impact your fireball pattern. See that pattern right there? That's a tricky one because the first fireball is going to miss you, but the second one's going to hit you. So you have to jump it, and also that red skeleton's coming at you. So it's it's a lot to take in, and like the first time you see that, it's going to be scary. But it's a pretty generous window to deal with that, so you just kind of have to play around with it and just make a save state here and practice it. So there, that is again. Yeah, there's a pretty generous window to jump the second fireball and still whip the red skeleton, so you can kind of play with that. There's one more pattern I'm trying to get to show you all what can happen. There actually is one unavoidable pattern. Yeah, that's a pretty common one to get. Just remember to jump the second fireball. There's one pattern where you'll actually get fireballs coming at you before you clear the stairs, and that is just an unavoidable tick of damage. Can't seem to get it. That's alright. But that does exist. And if you took a hit of damage in 13 or something like that, and you skip the meat trying to kind of YOLO it a little bit, if you get that pattern, that will kill your run. So if you have no hits to give and you're trying to get through here by just doing like holy water strats or something, you gotta be prepared for these fireball patterns. realistically, with the time saves that you get out of the scroll glitch, there's no reason to not take the meat unless unless you really just want to save a little time, which I don't feel is necessary, but you know, that's definitely your decision. But just be wary of, you're not going to have as many hearts as you normally would get through the routing, so take them wherever you can, and just be prepared to deal with whatever that bone tower gives you. Once you get through this room, the rest is just as normal. Like this room, no change. Death fight, no change. So just be prepared, and you should be able to get through this no problem. Expected time saves, it's been talked about, but first execution, optimal. You should be able to get on the 13 scroll glitch, probably about realistically 8 to 9 seconds of time save. On the 13 scroll glitch, you can expect about 6 to 7 seconds of time save on optimal first time execution. But ultimately, I think this trick is approachable. I think anybody can learn it. If you can do back jumps, you should be able to do this trick. It does take practice, but it's doable, and I think you can do it. If anyone has any questions, feel free to hit me up on the Discord. I pretty much live there. You can catch me on stream. Ask me anytime, any questions you have, and I'll be happy to. If there's any particulars you want to work out, I'll work with you. Just either way, hit me up. But I hope you appreciate this video. I hope this helps. I hope you are able to learn scroll glitch, practice it, implement it, and get these in your runs and start bringing those PBs down. So until next time, we'll see you. Thanks for watching.